Welcome everyone to the deep dive. So glad you could join us today. We're about to plunge into, well, one of history's most profound and frankly challenging stories of faith. It's a narrative that has really pushed the boundaries of human understanding, and divine command too for millennia. This isn't just some ancient tale, it's a foundational text. It asks us, even today, to grapple with these huge questions about trust and obedience and provision.
It really does. And what's truly fascinating here is that we're looking at more than just a historical account. It's this pivotal narrative that outlines a test of ultimate obedience and trust. It sets such a powerful precedent for how we understand faith itself. Our insights today, they're drawn directly from excerpts of Abraham's ultimate test of faith, specifically Genesis chapter 22 from the 21st century King James Version.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the layers of this text. We want to explore the radical nature of the command God gives Abraham, his response, which seems so unwavering.
Yeah.
The intense emotional stakes involved, definitely, and that profound idea of divine provision that just powerfully emerges from it all. Our goal is basically to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights, help you understand what makes this story so enduring and, thought-provoking.
Absolutely. It's a narrative that, despite being quite short, is incredibly rich.
Yeah.
Theologically, emotionally, it's all packed in there.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. The scene is set with this simple but really impactful statement. And it came to pass, after these things, that God tested Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. It's just immediate. A direct call and this open, ready response. When you think about the weight of what's coming next, that simple, behold, here I am, It feels almost astonishing, doesn't it?
That's an excellent point. We connect this to the bigger picture. Abraham's response, behold, here I am. It isn't just saying, yep, I'm here. In the ancient Hebrew context, this phrase, hene, it signifies complete attentiveness, a readiness. It's like a posture of availability, total submission to receive whatever comes next, no matter how daunting or unexpected. It shows this deep trust already built into his relationship with God.
And what comes next is, well, without exaggeration, it's truly shocking. Verse 2 gives the instruction. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And the emphasis is just critical. Thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest. This isn't just any son. This is the son of promise, the child they waited a lifetime for. He's the heart of Abraham's future, the very lineage God promised him.
That specific phrasing, yes, it absolutely underscores the immense personal cost, the emotional weight of the command. It highlights that God isn't asking for just any sacrifice, but the sacrifice, the one that would challenge Abraham's deepest affections and, crucially, his whole understanding of God's earlier promises about his lineage, the covenant. It puts Abraham in this impossible paradox, right? How can God demand the life of the very son through whom all these promises are supposed to be fulfilled? That tension is just central to the whole test.
And then the part that's almost unbelievable in verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son, and he cleaved the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. It's incredibly jarring, isn't it? There's no argument, no delay mentioned, no, sleepless night agonizing, no negotiation, just immediate preparation and action. What does that immediate compliance tell us?
That's precisely it. Abraham's immediate response is presented as the absolute epitome of trust and, radical obedience. Unlike many biblical figures who might question or hesitate, Abraham doesn't. This swiftness is key. It underscores the depth of his faith, his absolute conviction in God's authority, even when the command seems to, contradict everything promised before.
Yeah.
It suggests this profound belief that God, being righteous, would ultimately honor his word, even if Abraham couldn't possibly see how. It's action rooted in this deep sense that God's ways, however inscrutable, are ultimately trustworthy.
So they set out, and this isn't quick. Verse 4 tells us, Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. 3 days. You can almost feel the weight of every single step they took. That's a huge amount of time for reflection, for doubt to creep in, or in Abraham's case, maybe it was a deepening of resolve. How might those 3 days have affected him, knowing the destination and its terrible purpose?
Yeah, this definitely raises a big question about the internal struggle Abraham must have faced during those 3 days. It wasn't impulsive. It was a journey, a conscious progression towards something unimaginable. The duration underscores the deliberate nature of his obedience, the depth of his conviction. For Abraham, each step was like a conscious yes to his commitment. The time allowed for his faith to be truly refined, maybe, to move beyond that initial shock into a deep, sustained trust that God would somehow make good on his promises. Even it, as some later interpretations suggest, it meant raising Isaac from the dead. That concept gets alluded to later in the New Testament.
Right. And then in verse 5, Abraham tells his young men, "Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you, knowing what he intended, or thought he had to intend." That phrase takes on this chilling double meaning. Was it profound faith, desperate hope, or maybe just a way to dismiss them without revealing the horrifying truth?
It's truly open to some powerful interpretation. And that ambiguity, I think, really deepens the narrative. Some theological views see this as a powerful declaration of faith, believing God would raise Isaac, enabling them to literally come again together. That highlights a radical belief in God's power over life and death. Others see it more practically, maybe sparing the young men the trauma, maintaining some normalcy to avoid alarm or intervention. Regardless, it signals this profound inner conviction from Abraham that things would somehow be divinely resolved.
And verse 6 gives us this incredibly poignant detail. "And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. Isaac, the son of promise, carrying the wood for his own sacrifice." That image is just indelible. It adds such a layer of tragic irony, doesn't it? An emotional burden.
It's a stark, almost cinematic detail. It really intensifies the emotional impact. It visually represents the heavy burden on both father and son, this shared silent journey. The symbolism is so potent. Isaac, the living promise, unknowingly carrying the means of his potential end. It deepens the profound, silent anguish Abraham must have felt.
And then that question in verse 7, Isaac speaks, "My father." And he said, "Here am I, my son." And he said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" That innocent query from a child, seeing all the preparations but missing the crucial element, that just hits differently, doesn't it? It forces Abraham to articulate his purpose, at least partially. So what does this moment reveal about his resolve?
It's the moment of ultimate tension, isn't it? Both for Abraham and for us reading it. Isaac's question forces Abraham to confront the reality head-on, articulated by the very person he's about to sacrifice. It's a test of his resolve, not just internally, but now verbally, right in front of his beloved son. The profound nature of the test is magnified because Abraham has to maintain his composure, his conviction, facing his son's innocent but devastating question.
And Abraham's response in verse 8 is just as profound. "My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering." And then again, so they went both of them together.
Yeah.
It's an answer that carries both this deep, maybe desperate faith and, looking back, a prophetic truth. Did he know? Did he just hope? What does that statement, "God will provide himself a lamb," truly signify about his understanding of God's faithfulness right then?
Well, that statement, "God will provide himself a lamb," it perfectly encapsulates the core of Abraham's faith in divine provision. It's a truly remarkable declaration of trust. Whether Abraham fully grasped the how is, debatable, but he clearly believed in that God would provide. It reveals this deep-seated belief that God is faithful, even in the most impossible circumstances. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a declaration rooted in Abraham's history with God. From calling him out of Ur to providing Isaac in old age. It speaks to a profound conviction that God always fulfills his promises, often in ways that completely defy human expectation.
It's moments like these, the sheer depth and just a few words, it really makes you think. By the way, if you're finding this discussion meaningful, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a second and hit like on the Peace Project for All channel. It genuinely helps us continue these deep dives.
Yes, please do. It makes a difference.
So, back to the story. They arrive, verse 9. "And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood." The meticulous preparation, the absolute commitment to the command. It's an agonizing process, step by deliberate step.
This is the culmination of that journey, isn't it? The physical manifestation of Abraham's unwavering obedience. Every action, building the altar, arranging the wood, binding Isaac, it's all deliberate. It emphasizes the solemnity, the gravity of the moment. And Isaac, by this point, seems to have stopped asking questions. The text implies his willing participation, or at least his submission, adding another layer of poignant sacrifice. This scene is the ultimate display of Abraham's resolve, bringing him right to the threshold of the unimaginable act.
And then the ultimate act, verse 10, and Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. It's a moment suspended in time, isn't it? The absolute brink. The hand is outstretched. The knife is taken. There's no turning back in that instant.
It is the ultimate demonstration of his willingness to fully surrender his most precious possession. Right there. At this precise moment, the test reaches its absolute peak, and Abraham demonstrates that his fear of, his obedience to God, supersedes everything else, all other allegiances, all human instincts. This act of drawing the knife isn't just symbolic, it's the tangible final step of his complete surrender and trust. It's in this precise, ultimate demonstration that the purpose of the test is fully realized. Not in the death itself, but in the radical willingness.
And then the ultimate provision, verse 11, and the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And Abraham's immediate response again, here am I, the rescue, this dramatic last-second intervention. What's the profound significance of this interruption right at the precipice?
What's fascinating here is that dramatic last-second intervention, yes. The angel's call confirms Abraham has passed the test. Verse 12 makes it explicit. Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. So the purpose is explicitly revealed. It was to prove Abraham's faith, not to actually demand Isaac's death. This moment underscores that God never intended for human sacrifice here, but rather sought to reveal the depth of Abraham's unwavering commitment. It fundamentally reframes the nature of God's demands.
And then the perfect substitute appears, verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. The complete, precise fulfillment of Abraham's earlier statement God will provide. It's so direct.
It absolutely solidifies the concept of Jehovah-Jireh as a core theological idea, rooted right here in this specific event. In verse 14, Abraham names the place Jehovah-Jireh, which translates to, the Lord will provide. This isn't just a name for a location, it becomes a fundamental principle of faith. It signifies God's faithfulness in supplying what's needed, often right at the 11th hour, confirming God himself as the ultimate provider in situations of utter desperation. It becomes this foundational declaration of God's character throughout Scripture.
And just when you think the intensity might subside, we get this incredible reaffirmation. Verse 15 tells us, and the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And in verse 16, a profound declaration. By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. This is a divine oath, reinforcing the covenant in the strongest possible terms. What does it mean for God to swear, by myself?
That's a crucial detail, yes. For God to swear by myself signifies the absolute, unchangeable nature of this oath. Since there's no higher authority for God to swear by, he swears by his own being, making the promise utterly binding, unbreakable. The second divine oath underscores the immense significance of Abraham's obedience. God's affirmation isn't just a promise, it's a sworn declaration, highlighting the unbreakable nature of the covenant established because of Abraham's ultimate act of faith. It directly links the magnitude of the blessing to his demonstrated obedience and trust.
And the blessings are truly immense, aren't they? Verses 17 and 18 detail it. In blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. An incredible expansion and resecuring of the promises he'd received before. This is a covenant that now explicitly extends to all of humanity.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these aren't just repeats of previous promises. They are expanded and resecured by an unbreakable oath, directly tied to Abraham's faithfulness. And that promise that in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, it points to a universal impact, far beyond just a local or national one. It clearly foreshadows the broader reach of God's redemptive plan through Abraham's descendants. It underscores the vastness of the covenant and its enduring legacy for all humanity.
After all of this, verse 19 simply states, So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. A quiet, almost understated ending to such a monumental, life-altering event. It's a return to normalcy, but, everything has shifted.
Indeed. It brings a sense of return, yes, but we understand the experience has fundamentally transformed Abraham. It's irrevocably reinforced his relationship with God. He passed the ultimate test, his faith proven in the most dramatic way possible. This return to Beersheba signifies the grounding of those covenant promises in a tangible place, as Abraham settles back into life, now with an even deeper understanding of God's character.
And then we get this kind of surprising inclusion. Verses 20 through 24 suddenly list Abraham's brother Nahor's lineage. Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and several others, and Bethuel, and then specifically, and Bethuel begot Rebekah. This seemingly abrupt listing of distant relatives after such a climax, it feels almost out of place. Why is this lineage important right here?
That's a perceptive observation. And it doesn't feel random once you see the connection. This seemingly abrupt listing isn't just filler, not at all. It actually lays crucial groundwork for future narratives and subtly fulfills that promise of multiplied descendants, even through collateral family lines. It underscores the vastness of the covenant's influence. The mention of Bethuel being the father of Rebekah, for instance, is a vital prophetic clue. It foreshadows the critical role she will play as Isaac's future wife. She's the next matriarch in the lineage through which these covenant promises will continue. It demonstrates the intricate web of divine providence, often working through seemingly mundane family connections to fulfill larger purposes. It's a reminder that God's plan unfolds across generations through diverse relationships.
Wow. So we've really covered a lot. The impossible command, Abraham's profound and unwavering obedience, that immense weight of the 3-day journey, Isaac's innocent yet so poignant question, the heart-stopping brink of sacrifice, and then that incredible last-second divine intervention. We've seen Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide, not just defined, but powerfully brought to life. And we explored the powerful reaffirmation of blessings tied directly to obedience, even getting that unexpected glimpse into future lineage setting the stage. This deep dive really does offer a shortcut, I think, to understanding these vital nuggets of one of the most powerful stories in ancient texts.
It truly highlights how this ancient narrative, in its raw intensity and profound simplicity, just continues to speak directly to themes of faith, trust, and God's enduring faithfulness across time and circumstance.
And thinking about these verses, it makes me curious what verse from maybe our previous deep dives, or perhaps even this one, has really stuck with you. Feel free to share your favorite in the comments below if you like. We genuinely enjoy reading them and seeing what resonates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into such a powerful and enduring narrative. It's a story that, as we've said, continues to resonate, prompting reflection. So, as a final thought to take with you, how does this ancient story of ultimate trust and unexpected provision, how does it resonate with maybe facing your own tests of conviction or patience in life? And what about that profound idea that sometimes what you seek is provided in the most unexpected ways, or perhaps that the true test lies in the willingness, not necessarily the final outcome, something to mull over?
A great question to end on. Until next time.
We hope you'll join us again soon for another deep dive. And if you found this valuable, please do consider liking this video, subscribing to the Peace Project for All channel, and maybe sharing it with someone you think might appreciate it. Thanks again for listening.